Welcome back to the BattleTalk show. I am your host, Noah Manny, and I am absolutely over the moon to be back on the United Football Media YouTube channel for another week, recapping a very difficult football game for our beloved St. Louis Battlehawks, but then looking ahead to an extremely crucial matchup back at home in the Dome against the now XFL conference leading San Antonio Brahmas. So, folks, strap in for a wild one as we look ahead to the final stretch of the UFL season. It has just gone by unbelievably quickly, but we are enjoying every moment as we are still on the quest for a UFL championship. Our beloved St. Louis Battlehawks had a bit of a trap game on Saturday afternoon at Choctaw Stadium, going up against the lowly Arlington Renegades. Going into this game, I felt rather confident as the Battlehawks needed to continue rolling in order to host the XFL Conference Championship and have that locked up before heading into the final week of the regular season. And Manny Wilkins had a great deal of success in his first start during week 8, but the luck ran out. Manny Wilkins had an extremely forced second half against the Arlington Renegades, a team that has simply nothing to play for but pride, and a team that won an XFL championship a year ago. We were not able to extinguish the King of the Spring as he has been donned the last few years in Luis Perez. That high-powered offense of the Arlington Renegades was too much for the St. Louis defense, in addition to Manny Wilkins' inability to protect the football in the second half down the stretch of that football game. The lone bright spot in the matchup against the Renegades was the most consistent back across the UFL right now, and that is Jacob Saylors. Of course, he was able to find the end zone. He leads the UFL in touchdowns of any skilled player, and he was able to rush for another week over 100 yards. So he has been possibly the most consistent player on this offense outside of Hakeem Butler, and we are beyond grateful to have him in the backfield. Really no production out of Wayne Gallman on Saturday afternoon, so Jacob Saylors really carried the load, but it really came down to the second half. It was a back and forth scoring barrage in the first half, and it was simply going to be which team can make a stop down the stretch and pull away as they reach the fourth quarter. And that was the home team in the Renegades, as Manny Wilkins forced 3 interceptions, handing the football to the defense, one of which was returned for a touchdown to really blow the doors off of this football game and secure a victory for the home team. And you can truly chalk a lot of the blunders up to inexperience for Manny Wilkins. Yes, he had a fantastic career in college at Arizona State, but as we mentioned last week, these are his first 2 starts professionally and his first 2 starts since the year 2018. A lot of football has been missed in terms of on-field action for Manny Wilkins, and it became too much for him down the stretch of the football game, forcing throws to try and climb back in, and ultimately those throws did the exact opposite of what the Battlehawks needed and turned into points for the opposing team. So as we look ahead to week 10, it is time for AJ McCarron to enter the fold against the San Antonio Brahmas, as this game will come down to the victor then hosting the following week for the XFL Conference Championship. So the Battlehawks truly control their own destiny at this point. If they can earn a victory against the San Antonio Brahmas, which will be an extremely tall task, They will move to 7-3 on the season, which is an identical record to last year in the XFL, and then be able to host against the San Antonio Brahmas back-to-back weeks, but playing for a spot in the UFL Championship. So there is a tremendous amount on the line in the final game of the UFL regular season. Looking at that matchup against the San Antonio Brahmas, it truly seemed as if there was not going to be a matchup for the Birmingham Stallions that was going to be difficult or that was going to result in a loss. But the San Antonio Brahmas stepped up to the plate and were able to slay the Stallions in Week 9 and become possibly the team to beat and the best team across the UFL, as they're the only team that has been able to extinguish the Birmingham Stallions, handing them their first loss in 15 games. They were on a 15-game winning streak, and the Brahmas were able to stifle, only allow 9 points against the Birmingham Stallions. So there is not a team that could be riding higher than the Wade Phillips-led San Antonio Brahmas. And for that reason, I am extremely nervous heading into this final week of the regular season, as we have to play this team 2 weeks in a row. We've already beaten them earlier in the regular season. And as we know, folks, it is extremely challenging to defeat a team 3 times over the course of a season. It rarely happens in the game of football. Of course, you'll play a team within the division, if we're talking the NFL, twice. And then there are some rarities in the postseason where you may see a team in your division in a wild card game. And that is exactly what we are going to witness in this UFL season, where our beloved St. Louis Battlehawks will play host in Week 10. If they earn a victory, can host once again in the XFL Conference Championship against an extremely familiar foe. I am extremely frustrated with the way our beloved St. Louis Battlehawks are playing down the stretch of this season, as it looked as though this team was rolling. And yes, they had a tough loss against the Birmingham Stallions, a 4-point game, but then were able to bounce back against the DC Defenders. And then in Week 9 had the most remarkable opportunity to seal things up before the end of the regular season and squandered that opportunity. Maybe 2 games in the starting position were too much for Manny Wilkins. We know that AJ McCarron was available last week, but doing everything they can to hold AJ McCarron for the postseason so as not to re-aggravate that ankle. So I completely understand the move to not play him against the Renegades. But had the Battlehawks won in Week 9 with AJ McCarron at the helm, he could have rested in Week 10, gearing up for the playoffs. So as I look at this matchup against the Brahmas, this is a team that is extremely hungry to not only host the XFL Conference Championship, but also earn revenge against our Battlehawks, as we took care of business against them earlier in the season. And this is the hottest team in the UFL right now, taking down the Stallions, the only team to do it this year. And I'm more concerned about their offense than I am with the Battlehawks being able to score against the Brahmas defense. I know they held the Stallions to just 9 points, but with AJ McCarron entering the fold, he will be able to get his skill players going, finally get Hakeem Butler involved. He was a non-factor in Week 9 with Manny Wilkins, and have his trusty bell cow back in Jacob Saylors in the backfield. And hopefully, Marcel Aitman, he has essentially been non-existent toward the back half of this season. Get that 3-headed monster in the wide receiving core, Jacour Pearson, Hakeem Butler, and Marcel Aitman involved in Week 10. Really blow the doors off inside our home stadium to remind the San Antonio Brahmas that we are a real football team. We're competing for a championship. Yes, you took down the Stallions, but we have the best home atmosphere across the UFL, and we're not going down without a major fight in order to host once again the following week. So, looking at this Week 10 matchup, Chase Garbers and Dormady, that is a concern. Who will be the starting quarterback for the Brahmas in these final few games? But it really comes down to AJ McCarron's ability to be in the lineup, be healthy, and control the offense the way he is capable of, and thrive off of that home atmosphere that 30+ thousand will create in Week 10. I think this will be the most highly attended Battlehawks game of the regular season, and truly playing for a chance to control the narrative in the playoffs and have 3 consecutive home games if all goes well. And I am saying this with a tremendous amount of credit to the San Antonio Brahmas and a great deal of respect for that team, because they've done what nobody has been able to throughout the course of this season. But it's truly a win or limp into the playoffs scenario for our Battlehawks, and I do not think this team is capable of just floundering their way into the postseason. That is not the goal that has been set by Anthony Becht and company. So I truly believe the Battlehawks are going to earn a victory on Saturday afternoon and cement themselves as the XFL Conference's best team going into the playoffs, and be right back at the Battle Dome for the postseason, playing against the same team in back-to-back weeks, and continue on the quest to face the Birmingham Stallions in a rematch, this time for the UFL Championship. So, folks, we have to reach a 7-3 record on the regular season and earn the same record as last year, but ultimately control the playoffs as we know, and have AJ McCarron lead this team to the promised land. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the UFM YouTube channel. And always remember, Caw is law. Let's rock.